This is Nicole Whitlock with the eCom sellers, print on demand, eCom sellers mastery, print on demand. And this is session 40. No, this is 50. We're in 51. Wow. Yeah, we are. Oh, wow. I don't think I said 50 yesterday. Okay. So today we're going to go through an exercise of actually working on building out your ebook. So inside of Canva, when you log in, the first thing we're doing is we can go ahead and look for covers. So if I go to clicking on covers, you'll see that it's long. Now, it is long for two different reasons. One, it could be that this is one of those that wraps around, so you probably want to look at the dimensions and see, what the dimensions are. When it comes to Lulu, I can't remember exactly what the dimensions are, but you can, on each one of the sites, it'll tell you what the dimensions need to be for the cover, what the dimensions need to be for. So if I go to KDP cover dimensions, once you log in, you'll be able to look that up. You'll get an idea based on the type of book that you are printing. They'll give you some idea on what the minimum size are. So marketing cover image for your ebooks, they give you some idea. Can't be larger than this, minimum of this. And then if you choose, like I'm choosing an 8.5, like a 10x7 book, then you can see what the dimensions need to be, so that way you can create it in those dimensions. So let's see. Ebook cover dimensions. Okay. So this one says the ebook cover dimensions needs to be 1600 by 2650. That's the ideal ebook cover for your book. So 2650 by 1600. And so when I go back to Canva, this one's not quite that. It's not far off, but it's not quite that. The other thing is that you may have a vertical version of that. If I go to, let me dip in, KDP. I can image guidelines for KDP. That's the cover. Hold on. So that's back to the cover. Let me give you the interior. KDP dimensions. So in KDP dimensions, the interior of the book, you get different sizes depending on what you choose. So much easier when you log in. There we go. If I click on the triangle, I get all these size options. And it's like, there's a lot here. So what I would recommend, like I said at the beginning, when we make all these decisions, you need to know what size of a book that you're actually producing. So the average size, depending on what type of book, so standard size for ebook, standard dimensions for ebook. This is your dimensions that they are using for your ebook. And this is in inches, of course, for your ebook. And so that will help you as you make your decisions for your Canvas sizes. Okay. Book sizes, wiki size, book sizes, and you can see the different sizes that are available that they're giving you to be able to produce your book. And you can see that there's a drop down and you can change it from inches to pixels depending on which platform. If I go to Lulu, so for an 8.5 by 11 book on Lulu, my dimensions for my cover are this, okay? And so I have to keep that in mind. This is the standard for the book. The dimensions need to be this in pixels. And I would have to create that on Canva in those dimensions. You'll also see for the different other types of book sizes. So you've got a pocket book, which is a small book, is 4.25 inches by 6.8 875. I don't know what window I'm in. There we go. By 6.875, and they have the millimeters. If you're doing more of a digest, it's 8.5 by 5.5. If you're doing the A5, which is close to that, but not quite the same, here's the dimensions. So you can look at the sizes for the different books. If we go on Lulu, we can see those sizes and dimensions. And that's what we need to keep in mind when we are picking our sizes on Canva. So I can change if I'm going to do a square book, which is 7.5 by 7.5, small square, versus a little bit of a medium-sized square book. And then I've got a landscape book, which is 8.5 by 11. If I choose this, then I have to know what the cover size needs to be. And typically the cover size is going to be double because it wraps around the front and the back. So it's going to be double the width, which is going to be around 22 by 8.5, because it's got to go around it twice, or a little over 22, like 23, because you got to account for the edge of the book, the corner of the edge. So you need to know what your sizes are before you get started when you're working on Canva. And if I am, let's say I just decide I'm going to produce an 8.5 by 11, that's what I'm going to work with. Then what I can do is I can go back. I just want to start with 8.5 by 11. I literally, the flyer is like perfect for that, for the dimensions. So I can choose the flyer because it's already 8.5 by 11, and I can start with the cover. So the book cover, that's what we started with, and we have our pixel sizes. If I'm producing documents that go inside my book, depending on what size book I'm doing, A5 and A7 are pretty typical. Then I will choose those options as well. So I'm going to do 8.5 by, I didn't, I don't know what this is. This is not what I was choosing. So just a second. I must have chose the wrong thing. Hold on just 1 second. Flyer. I hit flashcards. That's what I chose. All right. Here we go. All right. So if you're going to have a cover created for you, someone's designed a cover for you, and you want to start your book. So the first thing is, knowing what your cover is going to be. To add new pages, I can click on add a new page. So I can just keep clicking on add a new page. Okay. My cover, if I'm going to design book covers, I can design a book cover with Canva. And see, they have different types of book covers. If I like any of these, that one's a math one. That one looks way too busy. Some of these don't look like book covers, but that's okay. Some of them look more like an article or a poster or something. Okay, so children's book cover, notebook book cover. That does not look like a notebook at all. Yeah. Journal book covers. That doesn't look like it. None of them. This is more like covers. That looks like a magazine. I've never used any of their covers, so it's like the first time I'm seeing this. So these more look like, definitely look like some of them are flyers. So I'm going to go ahead and choose one of these. I don't feel like any of those are really good. Children's book cover. This one might be a children's book. All right. So if you choose one of their covers, this is a good one. All right. So if I choose one of their book covers, you'll notice that all of the elements, if you choose one of theirs, are changeable. So if you kind of like aspects of this particular picture, you could keep it. If you want to change this font, you have the ability to click on it, as long as it's not grouped together, and you can choose a completely different font. Let's say we choose, I don't know, apricot. Okay, so that's my new text. If I want to change the 4, I can go over here. Maybe I'll choose corporate as the design, and I can change that for, which is much smaller. How about, yeah, that one's a little bigger. Okay, and I can also change the size. It's 30.4, so I can change that if I wanted to 42. Then I'd have to move this down. And then children, this is the font that was chosen. I can come up here, I can choose a different font, or I can decide that I want to keep the font that's there. So if I want to change the font, just have to find a font that I like. I can go with fun, I can go with kids. Let's just see. All right. So here's some other fonts that are available to me. And I don't know what Brusher is, but okay. So I can change that font. And then right below that, I can see, so this, I can grab the little plus, move this around, and right below that, I can see this text. Now this, typically you'd have the by and the author down here. So if I wanted to convert this into the by and the author, I could do that. I could move this line down a little bit, grab this, put it back. Okay. I can change the background by clicking on the entire square, changing the background to maybe a soft, a lighter color, or I can choose a bright yellow color, choose green. I can go with gray. So you can decide if you want to change the background. That's how you change the background. And then if I wanted to change these images, I could change those out. I'm going to leave this line, and I am going to say that this is by, and then you can, again, depending on what you decide to do. If you're going to say it's you, then say it's you. Stick with it. Leave it there. Go with it. Move that up just a little bit. And so now I've changed aspects of this. If I wanted to get new pictures, I could go and get new pictures of kids with a book. So I want to grab this. Now here's the deal. Kids book. All of these with the crowns say that they're pros. I have to try and find something if I'm going to sell this product based on the information that we previously studied, that if I'm going to sell this, the pro images, I can't directly sell those based on sort of the semi-obscure answer that Canva gave us. So this one, they definitely don't have the little crown, which means it's pro. So I can look for non-pro pictures and use that as my cover. So there was one that's animated. Here's another one, a little girl holding a book. That one can be used, and I don't have to worry about anything from Canva. This one can be used, and I don't have to think about anything from Canva. This little black girl can be used, so I'm going to go with her. I kind of like her. All right. So now I have my little book for children. She's my cover. I don't have to worry about her. Now I've got my text, and so I've changed everything about the template that I chose. I have a brand new template that I've designed. So all I did was, the last thing I did was click on elements, chose book and kids. Now, if you're putting your page, or you have your ISBN stuff and anything else you want to put in here from a copyright standpoint, you can add text. You can go get some of the standard text on the internet. So if I want to go get, what, Nicholas, copyright?
Have catfish for dinner.
Tomorrow we'll have catfish for dinner. Okay. So I can grab from Scribe Media the template text that I want to add to the inside of my book, if I've gone through the process to be able to add it. Okay, so here's some examples of what it could look like if you're going to publish it. If you're just doing an ebook, you don't have to do all this extra stuff. Just saying, if you decide you're going to brand this and this is going to be like a series that you're going to be selling, then you probably want to go get all of that information. So this is basic copyright protection, and that's the text that's there. This is all, let's see, we got all our extended template. So this has got not only the copyright, all rights reserved, no part of this book may be reproduced. You've got the ISBN. So if you're going to sell it in a hardcover, paperback, audiobook, ebook, all that information is there. I don't know about the Library of Congress number because I didn't really get one of those, but edited by, cover art, layout, all of that stuff. You populate that. It's applicable. If you're not doing anything with illustrations or art, then a lot of these you're not going to fill in, because if you were just the creator, then it's by you. And then excerpts from, and if you extracted anything from anywhere else, you can indicate that, so you have permission to use that, or at least that you give them credit. And then printed by, if you want to populate that, which in this case, I believe that's going to be Lulu, but I can double check that. I didn't have to think about all of that. I took the basic text. So let me go see if I can find that real quick. I did, we did do this. Ours was eCom sellers. And then, yeah, so this was the one I think that we use for the inside cover. And so again, your company name, if you decide long-term, this is what you're going to be doing. Address, if you want to put that, author website, if you want to put that, then copyright, and then the first publication when it was first published. So for us, the first time we published it was 2021, and then the author's name or the pen name, which is eCom Sellers, and then all rights reserved. And then we did, you know, if there was the cover was designed by, and you give the designer credit for that, unless they, you know, you're not, you want to ask if you're going to submit it off to, if you're submitting this off to someone else to design it, make sure that you let them know that what they're designing is going on the cover of a book. And if there is anything that they want you to mention or reference relating to the book. And so on some of the platforms, like, they're doing work that is considered royalty free. So you're just paying them for the work and you can use it however you want to. But on other platforms, then there's some level of credit that may need to be given. And so you need to be prepared for that and be aware of that. You can submit that question in your order. Okay. And then your ISBN number. So if you are publishing this book out with distributors, and it's going to be available, when you auto-publish through KDP, they give you an ISBN automatically. You publish through Lulu, they give you an ISBN. Ingram Spark, they give you one. So you don't have to buy one, but you can go buy an ISBN directly. That was the question that was asked yesterday. You can just do a Google search. There's like a couple of websites where you sense, don't put it in a book. So based on the type of book that you're publishing, you don't have to worry about that. And then a free ebook copyright template page. So they're giving you some of this. So what I can do is I can send this link, and I can share this link with you guys so that you'll have it and you don't have to be stressed out about anything that you have to put on the inside of the book. So that if you're publishing this, you know, you've covered all of your bases, as many as, you know, you can think of. All right. And the great thing is that depending on who you're printing with and what you decide you're going to do, that's the reason why I'm making all those decisions up front matter. They'll guide you through some of this as well. Okay, the platform will. So if I was going to put all the ISBN stuff, I'm just going to go grab this. And this is how I did it before. So I'm just grabbing the text. I can just scroll up. There you go. Okay. So you can copy the text from the page. And then where you have this, I chose this text box. I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. It's at 28. Going to click in here. And I'm just going to paste. Okay. So I clicked in there, deleted out, and I pasted. I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit. Okay, and you can move this around. You can decide you want it all left centered. You can decide that you want it, however you want to have it. So it didn't select the whole thing. I'm in a specific spot. Okay, come on. Okay. So you want to make sure you account for the edges. Remember, we talked about the edges and the borders yesterday. So make sure you account for the edges so that way your stuff doesn't run off. You want to fill in the correct information. This font size is tiny. In most cases, when you open up a book, the font size for this particular thing is tiny. So a 10 or an 8 makes sense. Your text for your book, you want something that's easy on the eyes. So there's you can do a Google search on what is the standard size based on the type of book that you're about to produce. So if I'm doing a recipe book, I will do font size for recipe book. I'll just put standard in front of that. Standard or average font size for a recipe book, and they say it's anywhere from 10 to 14. So I'm going to suggest just sticking in the middle and doing 12 for all the font on your pages where you're going to have recipes. Okay. If you are doing let's say a journal book, the average font size is anywhere from 9 to 10. And then they also gave you some additional information, common A5 trimmed book. So that's good to know that a lot of journals, and you can do a Google search for what is the average or the standard size for journals. And so if that's the standard size, you can go with that and begin building out your project based on that. But the font size in this example is 9 and 10. So sorry, between 9 and 11. So I would probably stick with 10 just to stay in the middle. You don't want people straining, but you also, you got to potentially in what you're publishing, you got to have a lot of words. Okay. So you have to go through that decision process to figure out what it is that you're doing first before you get to that place where you have to deal with that. So now that we've created this part, creating this fake book, now the next thing is to put our text in the middle. Now, if you want to, like I said yesterday, you can go with the Google Doc. So I can go in here and I can click on new, maybe if my computer responds, and choose Google Docs and start a brand new doc. You may want to create a folder that it goes in so that all of them are there. And you literally could start writing your book. So this is my fake book. Let me just type up here. It's my fake book. Okay. So I am going to start with my storytelling. Since this is a kid's book, most of the time, if you pick up any kid's book in the store, and you could visit your local bookstore and go through, if you can't find anything online and you physically want to see what's in the book, then you can go to your local bookstore and just open up a book. If you've got people that that might have one of those books on their shelves, like, hey, Sally, do you have a recipe book? I'd like to borrow that for a couple of days. If you don't happen to have one, you can do that. Same thing with journals. If you have an existing journal, I already said that I bought like a boatload of planners just so I could get the idea of the look and feel of everybody else's planners, and I could make sure I didn't miss what's been perceived as the standard and or important pieces of information to go into a planner. I could create a planner blindly, or I could go with some of the aspects. I don't have to go with all of them, but some of the aspects of what's considered standard. So with little kids' books, typically chapter books will have like a picture up here. And so I could, when I get into Canva, I can put a picture. So then they'll have like a chapter heading. So I'm just going to type the words chapter heading, whatever that happens to be. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's just chapter 1, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it might be 2 sentences. Then they go into the story, typically with an indent at the beginning, because they're writing what's considered common. So I have random garbage in here, but you get the idea. So when you're done, I can copy all of this, do Control C, come over to my fake book, click on text, and go with pasting my stuff in here. Get rid of this one. Okay. So it's all centered, and I don't want it centered. I wanted to read left to right, so I can do left to right. If you wanted to pan across the page, you can choose the option where this one, where it pans across the page. You can decide, I'm just going to stick with left to right. And then you can begin your formatting, editing where you need to. So if I am going with my font size of 12, I'm going to go ahead and continue working font size of 12. Again, yesterday took me forever to figure it out, but because I could remember it. But go to File, and you can click on margins. You can do ruler grid, so that way you can see that information. You can click on it again to get rid of them, so they don't stay. So you can decide. Canva will also give you a partial guide. All right, looks like a child has been abducted. Okay. That's crazy. All right. Hopefully none of the other, I don't know if the other phones are going to go off or not. Things we can't control. I guess I could turn my phone off. So anyway, so put your text in there. And the one thing I will say is right here where that chapter is, these two right here, you can decide that, you want them to be bigger. So I have to highlight them. Okay. And if I want them to be like the headline of the text, so if it says chapter 1, and then underneath it'll say like Millie learned to tie her shoes, and then it goes into the story about Millie learning to tie her shoes when you're looking at chapter books. If you're doing something else, then you won't have this kind of layout. So I'm choosing the first couple of words, and I'm actually going to center the first couple of words. While they're highlighted, you can move that stuff around, or you can create a brand new box for it. One or the other, okay? And so that's typically when you go pick up one of these books at the bookstore, it's typically about halfway is when you see that. And then the rest of it is all the text, which I got to just put a whole bunch of crazy text in here. Okay. All right. So continue writing the story. If I wanted to insert an image, again, inside of my book, I can go to Elements, and I can go see if I can find a kid and an image that I want to share. So I don't know. Millie learns to tie her shoes. I don't know. So what is she doing here? This is a necklace. Whoops, wrong thing. This is why you should get a mouse. All right, so she made some kind of necklace, so you can decide what the chapter is going to be about. So this is the chapter. And this is the text. I just have to move this all back up here. And I'm going to pay attention to the halfway mark. So just a second. Here's the halfway mark. Okay, so let me come down. Okay, and if you have multiple images up here, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. If you want it just in clip art, you can do clip art by typing clip art instead of it being color, because you want to be mindful of the amount that it's going to cost to print stuff in color. So the cover can be in color, but the content of the book can be just clip art. So let me see if I can find a clip art. Not going to find one only because I'm looking for it. That's normally how that works. I'm trying to find some clip art that does not have color. So let me do black and white. Or I could do outline. Okay, so those are clearly black and white. And that's an owl. And I need to do a kid. I'm probably not going to find one. But anyway, I tried. So if I can't find one, I got animals. Good to know, guys. Good to know. I didn't remember seeing animals, but all right, so I'm not going to find a picture of a kid immediately. I'm sure I could if I kept looking. You can go to some of the other platforms And let me see if I can find shoes. So she's putting shoes on now. All right, so I could keep looking, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to grab something. Oh, look, those are pro. And I don't want to choose pro. I'm selling my book. Come on. So,
Nicole, on the cover, you
uh-huh.
said there was some images we could not use. What were those?
So when you, based on the, I would say semi-ambiguous answer that we got back from Canva, if it has the little crown on it, it's considered pro. And so when it has the crown on it, if you are putting this particular image on something that is going to be sold, then you have limitations on what you can do with that image. But if it doesn't have the little crown on it, you can use it all day long. That's based off of their website and their ambiguous answer that they emailed back when we did some more digging and some more digging and some more digging. So I think, if we continue to dig, we continue to get random answers because the answers were inconsistent. So to be safe, not that I think Canva will ever come after you, but to be safe, my suggestion will be on the products that you're actually selling to not use the pro images. If you're creating a listing and you want to use pro images in the background of the listing, or you want to display it as an item on the, just the cover photo, that's fine. But the physical thing that you're selling, I would suggest that you not use pro images. Now you can
Okay.
creative markets and keep creative Fabrica, and you can get images where you don't have to worry about that. But there are images inside of Canva. You just have to pay attention to whether or not if you're going to put it in something that's physically going to be sold, you just have to pay attention to that. So do I think that Canva is going to come after me if I put this picture of these two tennis shoes, this one, on the book, which makes more sense than this Converse one? This one makes more sense. And so do I think they're going to come after me? The answer is no. I don't think they are. But in order for me not to get you in trouble, because I own a business, and so I don't want to get in trouble with you guys getting in trouble, I'm going to tell you not to use this image. And you can choose to do what you want to do. So, but yeah, like this one makes sense to put on here because of the fact that this article this fake story chapter book that I'm creating is talking about, the first chapter is talking about her tying her shoes. So you can go after or continue to communicate with Canva on your own and see what answer they give you. But again, the more you dig, the more the answer becomes so vague that you don't take action. And that's not where I'm trying to get you. I really want you to be able to take action in your business. So I'm not going to let their vagueness get me in trouble, because there's another side of the law that says, okay, based on my understanding and their response to me, this is how I understood it. So that stands up in a court of law. So anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. But to be on the safe side, since this is going in an actual book that is being sold, I'm going to tell you to try and find images that don't have the crown on them, just while you're playing in Canva. Okay. And like I said, you can go get stuff created all day long. So this will be the first page of my chapter book, and I can continue to go on. You can decide that you want a header or a footer. And if you're going to do a header or a footer, inside of Canva, if it is defined as a book, there's a section where you're going to put a header or footer, or you can come in here and you can decide that at the bottom, I am going to go ahead and put my page numbers or whatever. If it's going to be chapters, you probably want to put a table of contents. So, that kind of stuff we don't have. And the way that you could do the table of contents is the same way that we did, similar to what we did here. Or you can find a table of contents page, make sure it's grouped together, and then you can grab it and put it in here if that's applicable to the type of book that you're creating. Some books, not all books have table of contents. So just depends on what's applicable for what you're creating. All right, so we'll continue on with this awesome fake book that we're creating here. I just started with children's book. This doesn't have to be a children's book. The next page, we can do a recipe and we can do the layout for that. The next page, we can do a journal. But the way you add the pages is you just click on add page, so that at the end of the day, this is the book that we have started on our journey that we are creating. Okay. And we have to step through all of those planning stages that we previously talked about. All right. So we'll continue tomorrow. And we're going to take our fake book. We're going to continue to add some more pages and put some more features in it. And then Sunday, we'll start the process of getting ready to upload our fake book. All right. I think Sunday or Monday. One of those. Okay. That is all I have for you today. I just want you to know that there's going to be different pages as you go through this process. When you go through the checklist, you'll be able to know where you're getting this, know where you're getting that, and figure out what you're doing. So I told you one of the things yesterday is you need to figure out what your font is going to be, and then you need to know, based on your competitors, what is the average, what's the font size that you're going to choose. So those are all decisions you have to make before you actually get started. So I'm just doing this on the fly. Probably don't even have the same font styles. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. You just look. Yeah, this is Open Sans and the other one's Monostat. So yeah. So you do want to be consistent, whatever you decide to do. Monostat. All right. Any other questions that I can help answer? There we go. Now I'm consistent.
Yeah, I have a question. If I decide to do that recipe book
But yes.
and I put the name of the article, say the 5 flavor pound cake, where
Okay.
would I put my ingredients and how to make it? On the 3rd page or?
Well, so you have to decide. So let me do this. So I'm going to go do a pound cake. And let me just see if there's any pictures of a pound. Oh, that might help if you write pound correctly. I had pond cake. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to find a pound cake and we'll find one that we think is good. And I'm not going to find, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take one of these. Let me just see. Okay, so I'm going to choose this. If you're wanting one side of your book to be the picture of the results, there we go. Okay. Come on. Okay. So if I want one page, let me see how many pages I got. 1, 2. Okay, this will work. Okay, so then I am going to put my recipe on the next page. So I can do this and I can say, I could write the words recipe book here. I mean, pound cake. What did you say? What is it called? Said something.
It's a 5 flavor pound cake.
5 flavor pound cake. All right. So we start with a 5 flavor pound cake, and then we're going to have some ingredients. So the ingredients of what, oops, Lord have mercy. There we go. So if I start with the ingredients, you're going to, put some stuff there, put some stuff there, put some stuff there, put some stuff there, do some stuff with the ingredients, 1 egg, X number of flour.
And then I got to do the directions to make the cake.
Yeah. Then so I would do the directions, and you probably want to name your sections. I don't know how to spell ingredients today, but that's okay. So you can do ingredients, and then if you want to center that, you can center it. If you don't want to center it, and you just want to left justify it, and then you can go through with the directions. So you could say this is the mixing, and then these are the oven directions and whatever. So you can go through that process so that way they can produce this amazing pound cake. And so when I go and look at this is the cover. This is page 1 and page 2. Not normally you'd have an extra blank page there, but that's okay. And then one side is the picture and the other side is the recipe. So when they open this, the picture will be on the left, the recipe will be on the right. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does.
Okay. And the only other thing I would recommend is, because this recipe book has a backstory, is like I would put a backstory page, thank you for purchase, something about it. Like, thank you for purchasing the whatever the name of the book is going to be. These recipes have been in our family for generations. We are blah, 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 immigrants from blah, blah, blah. Like, just, give a little bit of a backstory. People love to read that kind of stuff. Sometimes they're inspired by it. It's something that's good to know, so that way they have some of the history of where these recipes came from. And then, you might also have, either if you want to have a way for them to contact you, that's all great. Just, on either the welcome page or a forward page or just some about this book page, literally. And then you can start going into the recipes.
The book actually was done in memory of my great grandmother, who lived to be 113. She was a slave.
Oh, wow.
So that's where these recipes are coming from, a book that we had published for one of our family reunions.
Wow. So yeah. So if you're redoing it, that is going to be amazing. So definitely, make sure you have that one page. If they didn't already put it in the book previously, add that one page that talks about the history. So
Well, it is. It actually has a picture of her.
Okay, good. That's fantastic. So yeah, you're just going to almost pretty much recreate this entire book, if that's the plan, which is good.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But I want to do it, and I want to do the desserts, and then we have the appetizers, then we have the meats, then we have the vegetables.
Okay.
We've got so many segments of that book.
Okay. So what you're going to have is like a table of contents. Or so if you have so many recipes, here's two things. One, I think you said you have over 300 recipes. So maybe you can decide, your first book can be a smattering of everything. That's what you can decide. So from a pages standpoint, I'm going to add some pages. Add a new page, add a new page. Okay. So from a pages standpoint, like after you, put in the IS, do the thing, then you could have like a forward or an information or about this book or the history of these recipes, whatever. And then after you have the history of these recipes page, then you could turn the page again and have your table of contents. And then after you go to your table of contents, then you can start getting into the book. That, again, those are one of the things you have to think about, the layout. So I'm just talking through it out loud. And then you could decide that you're going to pull out of those 300 recipes. You're going to create, you're going to include 10 appetizer recipes, 10 dinner recipes, 10 breakfast recipes, 10 lunch recipes. You can decide how many of those different recipes you want to put in your first book. Then your next book, you can say this whole book is just going to be all the appetizers. And then you'll put 100% of all the appetizers from your 300 recipe library. And then the next book could be, these are all the dinners, or this is all the holiday recipes, or this is all. So you literally take this book of 300 plus recipes and you break it down and to specific sub niches of the recipe process. But again, that's all you planning it out. So you can use the mind mapping that I previously talked about to map that out, so you don't lose those thoughts and those ideas. So that if you get through this and you get to a certain place and you can't continue on, maybe your grandbabies or your nieces or nephews can continue on from where you started. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay. Yeah, that's always the goal, because tomorrow's not promised for any of us. So, You know, if you have a vision and you're building something big, you know, all the money, the proceeds, you could decide that you're going to incorporate, and all the proceeds could go back to your grandbabies, or the proceeds can go back to the family, however you decide you want to do it.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So I will see you all tomorrow. We will do an example of how to create the table of contents. And we'll also look at the book forward, or about this book, or about the author. We'll look at those pages and how you might lay those out. Okay. I'll say goodbye for now. Have a great one.
Good night.
Good night.